Welcome back to part 3 of Peak Performance, where I'm talking about core components of what I think we need to look at as we're talking about our bodies and our bodies in the context of dentistry and making sure we have good long years, because many people depend on us. And it's the old adage, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So if you're just tuning in, I advise you to this is again episode 3 of the bonus series. We are not talking about anything dentistry, of the bonus series of Peak Performance. And the first one was about sleep. The second one was about diet and exercise and really getting lots of water. And this one, we're going to be discussing kind of going down the I was about to say pathway, but going down into testing, potentially brain training, and then and the last one is going to be about longevity. So my name, if you're just tuning in or don't know who I am, my name is Dr. Peter Boulden. I'm the co-founder of Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast, along with my co-host, Dr. Craig Spodak in Delray Beach, Florida. Together, we have about 45 years of combined dental experience, 7 locations, and our mission is really to create life-changing impact for entrepreneurial dentists through our Bulletproof pathway, and that takes you from vision all the way to financial education. But this is about kind of none of that. It's just about you and making you the best you that you can be. And that starts with, like I said, sleeping well and eating well and exercising. And now what I want to talk about, because I think this is so often neglected, and as a quote-unquote biohacker, I am fascinated by a lot of these testing protocols. So, pardon me 1 second. There you go. Testing, I think, is I've said in previous podcasts, people usually come to me in my life on advice in 3 buckets of things, whether that's it's dentistry, obviously the lion's share of which, but also cryptocurrencies and how to, and I've been in the space for a long time. And then the third thing would probably be biohacking. And I do not contend to be this, Ben Greenfield biohacker, or someone who spent their whole life and career doing things. But I have used biohacking that when it's helped me alleviate things in my own life, whether it's finding out how to work out efficiently, whether it's finding out how to hack a better diet, whether it's finding out things about me medically that I was concerned about. So this part is about the testing components of it. And as a fan of science and technology and the merger of two, I am a fan of getting full genomic sequences. And if you remember from kind of back in the day or science class, like it was almost a quest. I think it was an X Prize to actually get the full human genome mapped. And I think this happened back in maybe the early 90s or maybe 2000s, but it cost about $1 billion. Now you can get it done for about $500. I got it done through a service through out in California, and it was kind of an executive physical, and it was through Health Nucleus, because I'm all about life extension with years. I want to be around for a long while, and if science can help me do that, then I want to partake in that. But full genomic mapping, or even 23andMe, can give you information about things that could potentially be a precursor to things that are going to happen later on in your life, right? And that volume of information is continually expanding. And a lot of things are set by our blueprint of our genes. So genomic mapping was really cool. And then it gave me some indications of like, hey, this is in your family. You're a carrier for this. Be careful with this. You have an MTHFR gene deficiency, which basically means I don't folate things. So I'm not going to go into all of mine, but I think that getting the blueprints to you, like we have the blueprints to our dang house. Why not get the blueprints to you? And understanding how you function and the set of blueprints that you were given at birth. And it's not that one is superior to the other, but I think knowledge is power. And also knowing how to kind of interact with your genes. I mean, that's where science is going, in my opinion, is kind of customized medicine based on genomic profiles. So there's 2 services that are kind of like on the bleeding edge, on the frontier of medical testing and technology and physicals and just your overall health. And that's one is Health Nucleus. That's out kind of near Silicon Valley. Actually, it's out in San Diego. And the new one that's kind of popped up, I think Peter Diamandis and Tony Robbins are now partaking in, is something called Fountain Life. And their epicenter is in Naples, Florida. And I've had friends who have gone through this that really recommend it. And I really recommend Health Nucleus. I think also, too, when you're paying that amount of money, for your health, you become really serious about it. And it's not a narcissism thing. It's really kind of a lot of, like I always say in the podcast, many people depend on you. There's teams and families and their families, and your friends. And like, more than likely, if you're listening to this, you're making massive impact in the people around you. So it behooves you to kind of take care of that. And if things starting as simple as genomic mapping can help you enhance or create more longevity in your life or better quality in your life, awesome. Next thing I want to talk about is heavy metal testing. As dentists, more than likely you have either placed a tremendous amount of amalgams or have removed a tremendous amount of amalgams. Again, I think this is anecdotal, but those two times are the most dangerous times to be placing them because of the vapors and crossing the blood-brain barrier. And you could be high for some of those, right? Whether it's I've been high in mercury in my life, I've been high in arsenic, and if you're high in mercury, it's a very potent neurotoxin, probably one of the most potent. And I think dentists are so prone to this. So if you haven't had the metals tested through a simple serum test, or maybe I think you can even do hair, but I don't know if that's as reliable. Just have your physician add that to your panel and just check it out. You may have none, you may have some. If you have some, it's a simple protocol. It's a chelation therapy, things you can ingest, charcoal, activated charcoal, cilantro, glutathione. There are things that you can do to promote cleansing and detoxification. Next thing I would say, if you're kind of my age and you're above 40s, things start changing from you from a hormonal level, from a testosterone. Make sure that your hormone levels are being monitored or at least tested. Sometimes they're just not included in the stuff that you get from the regular, hey, I went and got a physical. Because but the endocrine system, as we all know, controls our moods, controls our appetites, controls so many things in our lives, right? That I think it's imperative that you kind of start looking at this as you get older, because there are ways to replace it, right? With bioidentical gene replacement therapies and things like that. There are ways that you can augment so you don't start, quote unquote, feeling old, right? And getting looking old and things. There are ways that you can abate the effects of aging through hormone degradation, if you will. The other thing I want to talk about is something that we don't usually talk about a lot in dentistry or even at your physician's office. Like, you go in, you expect your physician's going to do things and give you the advice. But I would recommend getting more than just your cholesterol count. I would look at getting a full CBC panel. Like, it's actually, check it, Google the Boston Heart Panel. I'll bring up a picture here. But it kind of it goes over so much more than just like, here's your total cholesterol, here's your LDL. It goes over ApoB and HDL and LPA. Like, for instance, genetically, LPA is the inherited form of LDL, which I am like off the charts for. And if I had never, and that's actually, Bob Harper from The Biggest Loser, obviously super fit, obviously like just, ripped six-pack abs. He had a massive heart attack at age 50 because his LPA was so elevated. And and he said that his doc was not testing for that at the time. So the CBC panel, like Boston Heart or Cleveland Clinic, they have bigger heart panels. Sometimes your physician won't offer it because obviously insurance is not going to cover it. But testing, like in dentistry, you have to have the information in order to make the diagnosis. This is something I would encourage you, if you have the budget, to not skimp on. Don't. Because it can give you a lot of intel beyond the point of like, yeah, my cholesterol's at 220 or my cholesterol's at 280 or it's 180. Right? Break it down into all the components of things that are going to affect you from a cardiovascular level as well as a hormone level and things like that. There's one test that I just did recently. It's pretty cool. That, like I said, I'm a big fan of science and technology, and if it can help me alleviate some of my fears. Back in 2007, actually, I had a big scare with them saying I had Crohn's disease, possibly cancer, which prompted me to go to the Health Nucleus and start this journey, which was completely resolved through getting more information. But I would have kind of just taken that for face value and probably been on Crohn's medication to this day. I had to have, so where I'm going with this is, if testing can kind of make you not have peace of mind, or at least let you dig in and you can be the own advocate of your healthcare, why not? And so there's this new test that a lot of my friends and people that are in technology are talking about, and it's called the Galleri test. And I just did it last week. But basically, it's a simple blood test that you go, and it tests for 50 cancers. And it tests for the markers of 50 cancers. So, and why is this a big deal? It's because the American Cancer, I found the statistic, the American Cancer Society suggests men have a 40% chance of getting disease, while women, so in your lifetime, you're going to have a 40% chance of getting some kind of cancer. The faster you find it, obviously, the better the prognosis. So if you can find it on a regular basis, and this Galleri test was about $1,000, not the cheapest test in the world, but it is nice to be able to take advantage of technology like this to say, wow, here's the baseline. In the year 2022, I had no signs of this. Maybe taking it again. Because I do have it that run in my family. My wife just got over breast cancer last year. And so it is something that is very prevalent. So if you can avoid it by small ounces of prevention, or an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, then why not take advantage of it? And then the last thing is things we don't want to do, like looking at colonoscopies. Like so many times we just take the routine advice and we don't do it. Like, oh yeah, I'll do that next year. I'll do that next year. Don't kick the can down the road with things like that with your colonoscopy. And then lastly, I think this is just a pro tip. Do not depend on your physician, if you're in a plan or covered by insurance, for them to be the complete advocate of your healthcare. They do not have the bandwidth. They do not have the bandwidth to take care of you on a comprehensive level, in my opinion, the way that they can. They are working their ass off, and no shade if you're a physician listening to this. My point is that the medical system is overwhelmed. So because you are a scientist, more than likely listening to this as a dentist, you have the chops to almost become the advocate, right? To take some of this testing on yourself, to dig into some of the research, because you can understand it, and then say, I really want this test. But do not rely on insurance to cover everything, and say, well, I'm not going to do it if insurance doesn't cover it. And B, do not rely on the physician to think that you're going to have a comprehensive level, because they just don't have the time to do it, unless you're in kind of a concierge level medicine, or you're going to a service like Health Nucleus. But again, there's so many things that have augmented the quality of my life because I found them out. Not that my doctor wasn't qualified to do so. For instance, the MTHFR, I found out that I have to have a different form of folate, or else it goes into homocysteine and all these things that happen. It's a cascade of events because I'm deficient in that gene. But if the doctor hadn't kind of found that and recommended it to me, I would still kind of be living in this state where mentally things weren't as clear. Mood swinging, all over the place. So what am I trying to say? You just become the advocate of your own body. And because you're a dentist and went through dental school, you have the chops to be able to understand things like, we looked at medical articles as well. So dig in, find out who you are genomically, testing, blood panels, and dig deep. Again, because in summation, there are lots of people depending on you. And if you're someone who, like I said in the last pod, this doesn't resonate with you, but maybe this got someone off of a zero and got them to get tested, or maybe this got someone off of a zero to go get a colonoscopy finally, or maybe this got someone, to say, you know what, I'm finally going to start taking that statin that my doctor's been saying. So if lives can be impacted by information like this, awesome. But I am not here trying to say that I'm trying to act as your physician. It's just a primer for ideas, because I legitimately care about the people listening to this pod. Well, I care about everybody, but especially the people listening to this pod. Okay, so the next, I'm gonna kind of wrap it here, but the next episode is going to go over, I'm gonna merge the last two components, which is gonna be talking about the brain training and then longevity. And when I mean brain training, I mean nootropics and things like that, because I think that's high tech and there's things there. But also some things with neuroplasticity and then longevity, because I think they hold hands well together. So I'll make this one a shorter pod, and then we'll go into the last one, which will be part 4 of the peak performance, which will go over brain training and longevity. Hope you're enjoying this, and if you're still waiting for that dentistry, I promise it's coming soon. The dentistry pod, it's coming soon, but you can just skip over these if you're not interested. Hope everyone's having a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time.